Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really interesting convergence in the space world.
Yeah, it definitely feels like things are lining up in a fascinating way.
Exactly. Axiom Space, the American Space Services Company, they've just appointed a new CEO, Tejpaul Bhatia, and he has, well, significant ties to India.
Right, his parents immigrated from India, and the timing is just quite something.
It really is, because this happens just before an Indian astronaut, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, is set to go to the ISS.
The International Space Station, yeah.
So-
Next month on an Axiom mission, Axiom 4.
And we know this mission involves contracts with both ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, and NASA, too.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal today, for this deep dive is to sort of unpack this. What's the significance here? You've got India's space ambition sort of meeting this new world of commercial spaceflight.
It's a great focus because we're seeing like personal stories, national goals, and these big shifts in, how we actually get to space all coming together right now.
Okay, so let's maybe start with Tejpaul Bhatia himself, his background. It's quite a story, isn't it?
It really is. You mentioned his parents came from India to New York back in 1970.
Yeah, and now their son is leading the company that's, well, about to send an Indian astronaut to the orbiting lab.
Right.
Like a full circle moment across generations.
Absolutely. And for him, it seems deeply personal. Our sources say he called working with India on this mission and their future goals a real dream come true.
Wow.
Yeah, he even talked about representing ancestors and future generations. That adds, a real layer to it.
You can feel that connection.
Yeah.
And it sounds like space itself has been a long-term passion for him.
Apparently so, since he was really young, like 3 years old.
3. Seriously. A visit to Kennedy Space Center then apparently sparked this lifelong thing.
Incredible, isn't it, to have that kind of impact so early?
And then later, academically, he studied computer science at Columbia. Focus on streaming video, actually.
Right, which led to him playing a key role at ESPN, launching HD sports streaming. It's not the typical path to leading a space company.
No, definitely not. How do you think that background, like in streaming video, might influence how he leads Axiom?
Well, that's interesting. Maybe scaling up something like HD streaming, which is super data intensive and needs high reliability, perhaps that gives him a unique perspective.
On managing complex systems.
Yeah.
Like spacecraft communications.
Exactly. The sheer volume of data, ensuring it gets through reliably, that kind of infrastructure management, maybe that's an unexpected parallel with space missions. His experience there could be, well, quite valuable.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. And he wasn't totally new to Axiom when he got the CEO job.
No, he'd been there for 4 years as chief revenue officer. He knew the company.
Apparently, he first got connected through City Ventures, which is interesting. So he had time to see how things worked before, taking the helm.
Oh, he had that inside view.
But what really jumped out at me was this story about how he pushed for the Indian collaboration. He was apparently told it was, like, impossible.
Yeah, that anecdote about him going directly to the Indian embassy, it says a lot, doesn't it, about his drive?
It really does. Like, very entrepreneurial, even in international diplomacy almost.
It definitely contrasts with the, the more traditional, maybe slower government-to-government ways these things sometimes happen. His directness seems key here.
Like he just decided, no, we're doing this. And his vision for Axiom's futures seems just as bold.
Oh, absolutely. He's talking about accelerating investment, in really advanced stuff.
Like next-gen spacesuits, orbital infrastructure.
Right.
What does that mean exactly? Orbital infrastructure.
Basically, all the support systems you need for people to live and work in space long term. Habitats, power, life support, the works, beyond just getting there.
Gotcha. And he mentioned microgravity research and manufacturing, too, so building things in space.
Yes. It's a big vision, not just visiting the ISS, but creating a kind of sustainable off-planet presence. And he wants passionate, visionary people to do it. Engineers, technologists.
That focus on innovation seems core, and Axiom's big goal under his leadership now is still that commercial space station, right?
That's the headline goal, yes. The world's first commercial, human-rated space station.
Human-rated meaning built by a private company, but safe for people.
Precisely. And the first piece, the first module, they're aiming to connect it to the ISS in 2027.
2027. That's coming up pretty fast in space terms.
It's definitely ambitious, a huge step for commercial space.
Okay, so with Bhatia leading this charge, let's focus on Axiom 4, the mission itself. The one Group Captain Shukla is on.
Right. The crew is really notable, very international.
Yeah, Commander Peggy Whitson, she's American, former NASA astronaut, and actually Axiom's director of human spaceflight now.
bringing incredible experience, obviously. Then you have the pilot, Group Captain Shukla from India.
And then 2 mission specialists, Sławas Uznansky-Wisniewski from Poland and Tibor Kapu from Hungary.
It's quite a mix. And what does that kind of diversity bring to a mission like this, especially a commercial one?
Well, beyond the history of it, like you said, India, Poland, Hungary haven't flown their own people in decades.
For 40 years, yeah. A big return for them.
It probably brings different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Different ways of solving problems, maybe.
Yeah.
Especially cooped up together in space.
That's often cited as a real benefit, yeah. Different cultural approaches, different expertise blending together, and having someone like Picky Whitson leading that diverse team is crucial.
Definitely. And just to clarify something from the sources, while these countries have flown people before, like decades ago,
Right, it's not their first human spaceflight ever.
this is the first time India, Poland, and Hungary are all part of the same mission, actually, on the International Space Station. That specific combination is new.
Ah, okay. That's an important distinction. A unique moment for the ISS itself, then.
And it really highlights how companies like Axiom are, opening doors, making space access possible for more countries.
It really does. And it's important to remember this is fully commercial. India is paying for this seat.
How much are we talking?
The estimates are somewhere between $60 and $70 million for the one seat.
Wow. 60 to 70 million. That covers everything. Training, the flight.
Yep. Training, flight costs, the whole package. It shows you how much India values this opportunity right now.
That's a serious investment.
Hmm.
And they have a backup astronaut, too, right? Group Captain Prashanth Balakrishnan Nair.
Correct. Showing they're really prepared and committed to this. The training itself was a joint effort. Axiom Space and NASA working together.
Leveraging NASA's long experience, which makes sense.
Absolutely. It's that blend again. Commercial speed and innovation, maybe, combined with NASA's decades of know-how and safety protocols. That partnership is key.
And politically, this mission got a mention at a pretty high level, didn't it?
It did. It was specifically mentioned during Prime Minister Modi's visit to the White House back in 2024.
So that elevates it, doesn't it? It's not just science or commerce. There's a clear diplomatic angle, too.
For sure. It signals importance on the international stage. Significant implications there.
Okay, so let's broaden out. Wider implications. How does this specific Axiom 4 flight fit into India's overall space plans, their bigger picture?
Well, India has its own human spaceflight program in the works, Gaganyaan, aiming to launch Indian astronauts on an Indian rocket from Indian soil.
Right. ISRO's big project.
Exactly. So while that's developing, this Axiom mission is, well, it's a faster way to get astronaut experience. It's a stepping stone.
So it complements Gaganyaan rather than replacing it.
I think that's how you'd see it, yeah. It gives their astronaut corps invaluable flight experience now. And it also shows India's willing to use commercial routes to meet its space goals. They're not just relying on their own national program exclusively.
That's a really key point. It shows how companies like Axiom are fundamentally changing the game.
They really are. Providing access, another pathway to orbit, for nations that maybe don't have their own human launch capability right now or want to supplement it.
It opens up possibilities. And Bhatia himself hinted at more to come, didn't he? Something about India's future space ambitions.
He did, which suggests this might not just be a one-off flight. You could maybe see more collaboration down the line.
Like joint research.
Yeah.
Or maybe India participating in Axiom's future commercial station.
Potentially, yes. It certainly opens the door for a deeper partnership between Axiom and India's space program going forward.
So when you put it all together, Bhatia, an Indian origin CEO, taking charge at Axiom, just as Axiom flies an Indian astronaut. It really feels symbolic, doesn't it?
It really does. More than just a coincidence of timing, it feels like a signpost for where things are heading.
Yeah, a shift in how international space collaboration works, maybe, with commercial players right in the middle.
Absolutely. And Bhatia's own story, inspired by space as a kid, now leading a company doing this, that's powerful too.
It is. And that multinational crew on Axiom 4, it paints a picture of a more, interconnected future in space.
A more collaborative one, perhaps.
Yeah.
Less purely nation versus nation, maybe more partnerships. This mission is a great example.
So looking at all this through our deep dive, it's clear this isn't just, about one guy getting a new job or one rocket launch.
No, it's much bigger.
It's a story about, ambition, personal connections driving global projects, and how commercial companies are becoming absolutely central to space exploration.
Yeah, overcoming things people said were impossible.
Exactly. And it really makes you think, doesn't it, about what this commercially funded route to space means. For other countries, perhaps, who want access to that unique environment. What kind of new science or technology or even new international links might this open up? Things we maybe haven't even thought of yet, well beyond just this one flight.